Hello everyone, welcome back. JavaMentor.net here. In today's video, let's learn about vertical and horizontal scaling. So let's say that your application became popular overnight. So before it became popular, your application was deployed to the server and that server had 1 gigabyte of RAM memory. Now you have many new users and now 1 gigabyte of RAM is not enough. Or maybe you need more CPU or something like that. So you need more hardware resources, right? How to solve that problem? Well, there are two ways. First one is vertical scaling. That is the logical thing. Like if you need 5 gigabytes, well, then you just need to turn off your application, and instead of deploying your application to the server which has 1 gigabyte of RAM, you should deploy your server to some machine that has 5 or 6 gigabytes of RAM. So basically you're just increasing resources on one machine, but still your application is deployed on one machine. What's the problem with the vertical scaling? It seems like a very simple solution. It is simple, but vertical scaling has limitations. Very fast you are hitting the ceiling because you cannot add, let's say, 100 CPUs to one machine. That cannot happen. Or 200 CPUs. There is no processor with 200 CPUs. I mean, I didn't look at modern processors. Maybe Intel created some of 200 CPUs, but you're hitting limits very fast. So if you cannot increase your limit in one machine, you can turn on multiple machines, right? So instead of having one machine with 200 CPUs, you can run your application on 4 computers with 50 CPUs, let's say. That is vertical scaling. So you're adding more machines. Now you have 4 machines, 4 servers that are running your application, right? But with 4 servers, now you have additional problem. Client of your application should send a request to one of those 4 servers. The problem is 4 servers has 4 different IPs. Do you need to say to your client, hey, this is the IP of machine 1 where my application is running, and this is the IP of second machine where my application is running, and so on and so on. So you need to, let's say, hard code 10 IPs in your client, and then you should instruct your client, hey, please balance your requests. You should send a little bit to one machine, then a little bit to another, and so on and so on. Then if you have multiple clients, of course in all of them you need to hard code all of your machines, and so on and so on. You created a trouble, you created a problem. I mean, it's visible from the moon that something is not okay. For that reason, between your machines, I created 3 machines in my diagram. In your client, you need to insert additional service which is called load balancer. And then your client should know only for load balancer. This load balancer may be another Java application, or there are plenty of cloud solutions, but you can just imagine this as one Java application that is handling requests from the client, and it's just passing requests to one of those application, to one of those 3 machines. Now your client need only to remember this. Let's say that your application name is JavaMentor.net and port is 8080. So your client only need to remember one IP and one port of the load balancer, and you can add multiple servers here. You can shut down those services, you can change them IPs, you can add more, delete some of them. Your client doesn't know about what's happening behind load balancer. Now, load balancer can have different strategies, different algorithms how to balance your requests among those machines, but the most common and the default one is round robin, which means it will first deliver a request to machine number 1, then it will go to machine number 2, number 3, and then, it will just evenly deliver those requests to those machines. The last thing to remember is that when you introduce vertical scaling, so if you're increasing your resources on one machine, but you still have only one instance of your application, one instance means one machine. In our case, in this case of horizontal scaling, we have 3 instances. But if you have only one instance, you shouldn't change your code. But if your application works properly with one instance, that doesn't mean that if you introduce more instances that your application will still function properly. We will see in the next video one problem when you introduce multiple instances. And yeah, in the next video, let's learn about authorization and authentication, and see you there.